Hello board game brothers and sisters, I'm Adam Singer and welcome to another episode where I'll be letting you know if Kickstarter is launching this week. If you're new to the channel, we do this every week, but I do like to start off these episodes by going over the past 7 days and just letting you know of some new discoveries and announcements that I just found out about. And the first one I have is for Tang, and this is going to be a Kickstarter launching on February 22nd, and this is going to be for an expansion. This game's already released, you can go out and try it for yourself, and this game is all about building up a Chinese garden, and players are going to be competing for victory points through set collection and tile placement, and it's also one of the most beautiful games that I've ever seen. This one's going to be launching real soon, so I will be going into more detail in the coming weeks, so make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, because there is tons of good content to look forward to. Then we do have a bit of a teaser announcement from the publisher Chiptheory Games, and you might know them from Too Many Bones, but they are also working with Bethesda to make an Elder Scrolls board game. And there's not too much info out on this one yet, but they will be announcing more info real soon, and you can go ahead and subscribe on their webpage if you want to get notified. But also you might want to book in your calendar that on January 27th, they are going to be announcing a ton more details over on the Bethesda Twitch page. So if you want to know more about this one, definitely go ahead and check that out. Or if you just want to take the easy way, you can always just subscribe to my channel and I will cover it as soon as I know more. And for those of us that are fans of Garphill games and the North Sea and West Kingdom trilogies, there is a new game that was just announced, and this is going to be from the same designer, Sean Phillips. But this one's going to be a little bit different. It is completely separate from those trilogies, and this one is going to be a solo game. And this is called The Legacy of View. This takes place in China, where you're going to be trying to protect the land from incoming floods, as well as attacks from different tribes that are enemies of your emperor. And you're going to be building different canals and rivers to try and redirect the floods, while also trying to fend off these aggressors. And it looks like this will include some campaign elements as well, because the game's designed to be played over 7 different game sessions. And the decisions you make, as well as your successes and failures, will change the way that the story unfolds, as well as the mechanisms that will be present in that game. And the last game that I just found out about in the last week, and I really wanted to mention this one because it could go up on Kickstarter any day now, and this is a campaign from Buttonshy Games, and this one's called I Guess This Is It. And Buttonshy Games specializes in making these wallet-sized card games, and this one is going to be quite a bit different from all the others that they have in their line, because this is going to be a 2-player role-playing game. I don't have too much info on this one yet, but these Buttonshy game campaigns seem to go up without any warning, so if you are interested in backing this one, you might want to click that notify button. And those are all the new discoveries that I have to share, so let's get to the Kickstarters launching this week. And the first campaign we have launches on January 24th, and this is called Ravaged Armies of the Veil Touched. And this is not actually a board game, this is instead a line of miniatures. So if you're interested in getting some miniatures for your tabletop wargaming or for RPGs, this might be a campaign for you. And these are going to be focused more on a sci-fi theme, and they're going to feature 32mm bases. And the minis featured are going to be Space Marines, Corrupted Space Monsters, and space tanks. And each one of these boxes is a war pack, and there's going to be several to choose from, and each one's going to basically feature a commander, as well as 4 different squads, as well as some elite characters and a few other characters as well, depending on the box that you choose. And you can choose to get a more humanoid war pack or a more monstrous war pack. And if this does sound like one that you're interested in, make sure that you follow along, because you'll get a free miniature with your pledge. And I have links to all these campaigns in the description below. And launching on January 24th, we also have Granja, the Deluxe Master Set. And this plays 1 to 4 players and takes about 90 to 120 minutes to play. And this one is our Discord pick of the week. And in this game, players are going to be building out their Spanish island farm, where they're going to be trying to grow and harvest crops, breed livestock, hire helping hands to craft different goods, and then sell those goods at a shared market. To do this, players are going to be using 2 different boards. There's the main shared board, as well as individual player boards. And this looks really interesting, and it's one of the reasons that this is also going to be my pick of the week. And I do have a few reasons why I'm making this one my pick. The first is just that this is the one that I'm most excited about, but it does also have some really interesting mechanisms, especially around these individual player boards. You can see that these boards kind of look a little bit unique with the way that they're cut out, and there is a reason for that, and that's because this game uses multi-use cards that you're going to be slotting in the different spots in your farm. But these aren't just dual-use cards, these are quadruple use cards. Yeah, that's a thing. You can see these cards have icons on the top as well as icons on both the left and right side, and then sort of a column in the center. And the reason for that is because if you want to use the left hand side, then you would slide it under the left side of the board. Same if you want to use the right, you would slide under the right side. And then if you wanted to use the top, you'd put it at the top of your board, or if you wanted to use the center column, then you would slide it in behind in the center here. And I really do like multi-use cards because they normally present some good options to the player, but then they also present the player with a predicament because you can only ever choose one of those. And I always find that the most fun games are the ones that present tough choices to their players. I also really like how there's only a limited number of slots in each area of the board, so as you upgrade a certain area of your board throughout the game, you're going to be more limited with what you can put there. Eventually you won't even be able to put any cards in different sections at all, so you'll really want to plan ahead with the cards that you want to equip. And another reason that I think this is a really good pick of the week is that this game is already out, so you can go ahead and play it if you're interested in it, and you can have that confidence that this is a game that you'll actually like before you go ahead and back it. And I don't think this reimplementation changes the game too much, but it will be adding a few more modules and expanding on the game in different ways. One thing it will be changing for sure is that the artwork has been vastly improved as well as the components. So if this is a game you like, this is a great opportunity to get the best looking version of it. And the game plays over 6 rounds, and each round is made up of 4 phases, and the first phase is the farm phase. And this is where players will be taking income based on the decisions that they made in the previous rounds, and they'll also be able to play one of those multi-use cards and perform one upgrade on their farm. The different upgrades that you can put on your farm will give you some special abilities, but you can also get some different scoring opportunities as well. And the next phase is the revenue phase, and during this phase players will roll dice, and then depending on the number of pips that each die rolls, you're going to be grouping them on these different spaces on the left side of the main player board. All the different dice represent different actions that can be taken, and you can do things like gain cards and resources, upgrade your goods, or move yourself up in the turn order. A really neat thing about this phase is that after all players have drafted their dies and performed their actions, there's always going to be 1 die left over on the board, and wherever that die is, all players will be able to take that action. So if you're the last player to draft a die, you have a lot of control in determining which die is going to get left behind. And the third phase is the transportation phase. And the first thing you're going to do here is decide your work-life balance, because you're going to be able to move yourself up the siesta track. And then when you're done taking your nap, you're going to head over to the market, because you're going to be trying to compete for the best spots in the market so that you can deliver your goods to fulfill orders that will earn you victory points in the scoring phase. And in the scoring phase, you'll be gaining points for the spaces that you occupy on the main board, as well as your position in the siesta track. And another really neat thing about this Deluxe Master Set is that it's going to introduce a bunch of new modules to expand the game, and one of these modules is designed by the original designers of the game, and then the others are going to be designed by different designers, but these aren't just any designers, these are actually some really impressive names like Adam Kwapinski as well as Stefan Feld and many others. And launching on January 25th, we have Purple Haze, and this plays 1 to 6 players and takes about 60 to 720 minutes to play. And the reason for that long play time is this is sort of a campaign game, but it doesn't really have a fixed story. Instead, the story is going to be defined by the player's decisions, and whether you succeed or fail in your missions, that's going to roll forward into the story that this game tells. And in this game, players are going to be dropped into the jungles of Vietnam. This is a cooperative game, and each mission is going to present players with both a primary and secondary objective that they can try and complete. And as players move through these different missions, they'll also be able to level up their characters with different skills and abilities. Players will also be managing their fatigue along with their alert tracker, and as they move through the forest and different cities, they'll be making noise, and if you make too much noise, you're going to alert the surroundings, and that can trigger different combats to occur. Characters will have different range and combat abilities as well as different weapons as well, and all of these are going to come into play during combat as you roll different dice to try and come out on top. The dice combat in this game does play quite a bit differently than what you might have seen in some other board games, because in this one you're actually trying to roll the dice to match other dice that you see on this card, and you're going to be drawing one of these cards when you engage in combat, and it's going to dictate the type of terrain that you're in as well as the different opponents that you might run into. And if this does sound like a game that you think you might be interested in, I do recommend following it because it'll get you a really nice €5 discount. Also launching on January 25th, we have Legend Has It, and this is a book of storytelling. And I would consider this a party game, but it's not like a Take That or anything like that. I think this is a really chill and a relaxed type of party game, and I don't think it's like anything I've ever seen before, and it's pretty interesting, some of the ideas at play. And the way that this game works is that players are going to be drawing a mythos card at the start of the game, and that's going to dictate the theme that your story has to have. And then players are going to be taking turns drawing these blue cards and then putting them out on the table in a random order. And then we'll come back to that in a moment. But then the active player is also going to be drawing a pink timeline card and then adding it to this existing timeline that's going to be growing throughout the game. As players do this, it's going to start and end different storylines, but this is all going to be part of a single story. And when you put your timeline card onto that timeline, you're going to have to tell the story of what's happening at that instance in time. And to do this, you're going to need a little bit of inspiration. So you're going to have to take your favorite book or any book that you have laying around, and then you're going to match the icon on your timeline card with the row on these blue cards, and the first 3 digits are going to tell you which page you have to go to in your book. The digit after that's going to tell you which paragraph you have to go to on that page, and then the last digit is going to tell you which sentence you have to read in that paragraph. You'll read that to the other players, and then you're going to have to piece together how that fits into your story. Eventually that timeline will end and players will have completed their story. If you and your friends are avid readers, or if you're part of a book club, I could see this game being quite a hit in that type of setting. But it also seems relaxed enough that you could just take it out and play it with some friends and have a few laughs with the way that the story unfolds. Also launching on the 25th, we have Hens, and this plays 1 to 4 players and takes about 15 to 20 minutes to play. And this is a game about farming and breeding egg-laying chickens. And in this game, players are going to be gaining different breeds of chickens, which is going to be outlined by the color of the card. And then each chicken is going to have a number of eggs that it can lay and a number that's associated with it. And players will have a hand of these chicken cards, and on their turn, they'll be able to place one into their tableau in order to create a grid of chickens by the end of the game. And then they'll be able to play another card into their own discard pile face up. In order to place a chicken into the tableau, it either needs to have a number that's either 1 higher or 1 lower than the chicken adjacent to it, or it needs to be the same breed, which is indicated by it being the same color. If you are unable to play a chicken, then you have to flip one of your cards face down, and on the back is a chicken coop, and you'll be placing that into your grid instead, and those are normally worth negative points at the end of the game, so you really want to try and avoid those. But there's a few ways to score victory points in this game, and they're going to dictate the way that you place your chickens into your grid. At the end of the game, you're going to be scoring your biggest group of chickens of the same breed, and you're going to be doing that by adding up the eggs on those individual cards. You're also going to score for any of your award-winning hens, which have these little ribbons on them, and then you're also going to be scoring for whichever group of chickens you happen to put your rooster token on. You're going to want to try and get that on your second biggest scoring group of hens, but the challenge with that is that you put your rooster token out on your board after you've placed your 6th card in the game, so you don't know exactly what your grid is going to shape out to be. You're going to want to try and place that wherever you anticipate that second group of hens to be. Players can also earn additional points by completing different objective cards, and then the player with the most points at the end of the game wins the game. And launching on January 25th, we have Thunder Road Vendetta, and this plays 2 to 4 players and takes about 45 to 75 minutes to play. And this is being published by Restoration Games, who specializes in taking some older games that a lot of people really love, and then brushing them up, cleaning them up, re-implementing some of the rules, improving the game, streamlining it, upgrading the components, and re-releasing it in a brand new package. And this is a hectic racing game where players are going to be trying to get to that finish line first, but on the way there they might just happen to drift, shoot, or run their opponents off the road. Each player in this game is going to be managing their own crew of vehicles. They're going to have 3 different sized cars, a small, medium, and large, and then a helicopter that they can send in and straight up eliminate their opponents. The different cars aren't just for looks, their sizes actually do matter. The bigger ones are going to be better at pushing and shoving other cars out of the way, while the smaller ones are going to be a little better at evading bullets and weapons fired from your opponent's vehicles. And the way that this game works is that each player is going to be rolling their own set of dice, and the pips on those dice indicate how many movements you can allocate to each of your vehicles. You can only assign 1 die to each vehicle, so you're going to have to pick and choose who gets more movement and who gets less. Players are going to be starting on one side of the board, and there's going to be different obstacles to avoid, like mud pits that can slow you down, as well as different hazards that you'll have to flip to reveal what exactly you're running into. And these hazard tokens can reveal different obstacles that you might find on your typical drive, such as oil slicks, mud patches, other car crashes, or even those pesky landmines. Of course, you'll want to try to avoid those, but no one's going to fault you if you happen to bump one of your opponents into them. Once you've issued a die to each of your vehicles, you'll always have one die left, and with that one you can put it out onto your command board, which will allow you to perform one of 4 actions, such as repairing damage, getting a nitro boost, sending out one of your helicopters against your opponents, or drifting through different obstacles. I think this reimplementation is going to do a really great job of maintaining that really quick action-packed gameplay, while still adding enough new terrain, weapons, and obstacles that are going to make each game feel very different from the last. And I think the designers have done a really great job of adding just enough depth to take the game to that next tier in terms of gameplay. And there will be a few expansions and add-ons as well, and you might as well just go ahead and buy this one right now because it has a ramp, and every car game needs a ramp. And also on the 25th, we have the Seeds of Decay, and this one is not a board game. Instead, it's an RPG 5e compatible sourcebook, and this will include a bunch of races and classes, as well as cities, taverns, and towns to explore. And it's also going to introduce players to a world where rot and decay is taking over the forests, and it's manifesting itself and twisting creatures into various monsters. Players are going to be fighting back against this rot and decay and trying to put the world back into order. Along with the sourcebook, the campaign will also be adding a few gaming tools like GM screens, maps, and character sheets. And an interesting aspect of the system is that it also includes rules for players to be able to forage, gather different materials, and build different contraptions and traps that they can use throughout the campaign. And then on January 27th, we have the 2022 Crokinole board Season 7. And this is going to be offering Crokinole boards in both rosewood and mahogany, but it's also going to be offering carrying cases to international backers, which they haven't been able to do in past campaigns. And even though it seems like Kickstarter campaigns just keep raising their prices again and again, this campaign is still going to be offering that $99 price point. I don't know much about their previous campaigns, but since they're on Season 7, I would imagine that they've dialed in the workmanship on this Crokinole board, and it does say here that they're going to be offering other prior innovations as well, so you might be getting just a little bit more than a regular Crokinole board. This is one that I will be paying attention to, and I'll be cross-checking with some other options out on the market, because a Crokinole board is something that I don't have, but it's also a game that almost everyone is up for playing, regardless if they're into board games or not. And those types of things are good to have. And on January 26th, we also have Kingdoms Rise and Fall Dorian, and this plays 3 to 6 players and takes about 60 to 360 minutes to play. And in this game, the king has died, and players are rebel leaders competing for his throne. Players are going to be traveling the map, gaining different resources, and fighting to gain influence. And the first player to reach a set number of influence points wins the game. Players are going to be choosing a character and their starting deck, and then they're going to be developing that throughout the game. In each round, players are going to be gaining resources based on the locations that they hold, and then they're going to be drawing a kingdom event card, which is going to have game-changing effects that affect all players. And each round is made up of 2 phases. There's the preparation phase and the influence phase. During the preparation phase, players are going to draw a card from their own personal deck, and then they're going to take turn performing different actions like gaining resources, using camp upgrades, upgrading their character, buying new battle cards, or burning unwanted battle cards from their deck, or gaining new objectives which can help them gain more influence points. And then during the influence phase, players will also draw a card from their personal deck, and then they can perform some different actions like traveling across the map, visiting the different locations, using your character abilities that you upgraded in the previous phase, upgrading your camp, gaining resources, and engaging in battles. And your deck of cards represents your army, and when you enter a battle, you'll be able to choose from your hand of cards to decide which cards you want to send into that battle. And there's 2 different classifications of battles. There's siege battles and field battles, and the thing that determines this is how that battle was triggered. If it was triggered by occupying a location, then it's going to be a siege battle, but if it was triggered by characters interacting with each other on the map, then it's going to be a field battle. And the battles play out almost the same way, but the only difference is that siege battles thematically take longer to resolve, so players can send troops from farther distances if they want to engage in that battle. And then of course the field battles thematically occur more quickly, so only troops that are close by to that battle can actually engage in it. And to resolve a battle, there's going to be a defending side and an attacking side. Sometimes it might be obvious which side you are, depending on if you own the location that's being fought over or if you are the one attacking it. But any other players can also join in these battles, and they can secretly choose a side, and then players are going to be choosing cards that they want to play, simultaneously revealing those cards and then determining which side has the most power. Players will gain various rewards if they're able to win, but players can also gain and lose control of different regions. And this is a style of combat that I really enjoy. A game that I could compare it to is Cosmic Encounter, but what makes this game really interesting is that it blends all that with a deck building mechanism. And if that sounds like a blend that you're interested in, definitely check it out in the description below. And those are all the campaigns I have for you this week, but don't leave yet because we have a couple awesome giveaways to announce, and the first one is for CoLab. This is actually a competitive game, but the way that it works is that you're going to be drafting and upgrading dice throughout the game, and then you're going to be rolling those dice and then putting them into these little minion miniatures and putting those out on the board for different benefits. And the way that those come into play is that players are going to be playing as scientists, and if your scientist is ever on the board adjacent to these minions, then you can use the die that they're holding, regardless if it's your minion or someone else's. So there's kind of an unintentional cooperative aspect to this game. And players are also going to be managing a tableau which represents their laboratory, and as they play the game and get more resources, they'll be able to add more cards to that tableau, upgrading it and triggering different chaining effects. And these cards represent your laboratory creations, and along with the special ability that they grant, they also grant victory points. The tableau is also a mechanism for the end game trigger, because whenever a player reaches 12 cards, that triggers the end of the game and you're going to have one more round, and the player with the most victory points at the end of the game is going to win the game. And this giveaway is going to be for the CoLab Deluxe edition of the game, which is not going to be available in retail, and this is going to come with upgraded components and miniatures and all unlocked stretch goals. And to enter this giveaway, just leave a comment down below with the hashtag CoLab and leave us a comment with the scientists that you look up to, whether it's from history or from science fiction. And my pick is going to be one of the most well-renowned scientists that any of us have ever heard of, and that is Herbert J. Farnsworth.
Good news, everyone!
And I also wanted to mention that this campaign is offering Palm Laboratory, which is a bit of a spin-off from Palm Island, which is a solo game that you play completely in the palm of your hand. It's a game that I own and I'm never getting rid of. It's just really easy to play and it's a lot of fun. This one's going to add a few little differences, but it's also going to have a change of theme. But $6 for that is a really good price and I highly recommend it. Just remember that there is shipping charges as well, so just make sure to check that out if this is one that you intend to back. Is that a Canadian thing? Do other people say $6? And I also just want to mention that all of these pledges are very reasonable priced. $60 for the deluxe edition of this game seems like a great deal. And this is coming from established designers, one of which has created games like Dinosaur Island and Dead of Winter. So if you're a fan of those types of games and dice worker placement and just creating various monstrosities in your lab, this is definitely a campaign that you'll want to check out. And the next campaign we have is for Skytear Horde, and this is a asymmetrical head-to-head card battler, but what makes this one interesting is that it was specifically designed for cooperative play, so you're going to be fighting against the game, but they do also offer a competitive mode as well. Cards are going to be issued out into battle into 6 lanes, and any cards that are opposing each other are going to engage in combat, activating their abilities and inflicting damage. And you can kind of imagine this battle as a bunch of monsters that are spawning from different portals, and they're trying to attack your castle. So anytime that the AI's card is in a lane that is not defended by your card, it's going to issue its damage to your castle, which you can kind of think as your health. And then likewise, anytime that you attack an empty lane, it's going to issue damage onto the portal, which is going to cause damage to the portal. But the fun doesn't stop there, because there's also going to be minions spawn that don't go in those typical lanes. Instead, they're going to weasel their way around the battle and try to enter your castle to pillage it for whatever they can find. So you're going to want to pay attention to these, or they're going to be pilfering some cards from your hand. And once you do issue enough damage to those enemy portals, the final boss is going to spawn for an epic final battle. So all you have to do from there is take out that giant super strong monster and you win the game. And another really interesting aspect of this game is that cards are a very precious resource. You're not just redrawing cards anytime that you run out. Instead, you actually earn them by taking out enemies, so you really want to make sure that you're hanging on to the cards that you have. And this giveaway is going to be for the gameplay all-in, which comes with the core box, as well as 2 Kickstarter exclusive expansions. And although this giveaway is for North America, the publisher let me know that they will open it up to the rest of the world, but the winner will just have to cover the shipping if they're outside of North America, so just keep that in mind. And to enter this giveaway, all you have to do is leave a comment down below with the hashtag Horde, and I'm going to hit close to home here and ask you to let us know what it is that you hoard. And I know 99% of you are probably going to say board games, but what is the next thing after that? If there is a next thing. Otherwise, board games is a valid answer. For myself, people often ask me if I'm a dog person or a cat person, and my answer to that is that I'm a plant person. I hoard plants. And those are all the giveaways I had for this week, so good luck in those contests. And it's really awesome that the publishers are donating these pledges to the channel, so definitely go check out those campaigns if they interest you and show them some support. And all of this is made possible by all of you watching this channel. It's because of the views and the likes that these videos get that it's worth it to the publishers to donate such awesome pledges to give away on the channel. So if you find this content useful and you appreciate the effort that I put into this, definitely give the video a like, and if you haven't already, consider subscribing if you want to see more of this. It'll really help the channel grow and help for even more giveaways in the future, and I really want to start offering more content as well. I just really need to figure out how to get more efficient at this because I can't seem to talk at the camera for more than 3 sentences without stuttering, but I am getting better with practice and I will power through until I get there. But that's it for this week. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and until next time, keep that shelf cluttered and the table full.
Oh.